Meet Dan Hooker, aka the Hangman, the UFC lightweight dynamo who turns every fight into a spectacle. Known for his jaw-dropping knockouts and fierce grappling, Hooker's octagon performances are anything but predictable. From heart-stopping finishes to epic comebacks, this New Zealand powerhouse keeps fans guessing and thrills every time he fights. Ready for a wild ride through his most electrifying moments? Buckle up and find out why Dan Hooker is the fighter everyone's talking about. From rugby to the ring. Born in Auckland. On February 13th, 1990, Daniel Preston Hooker was destined for greatness. Growing up in a family with partial Maori descent, Hooker was no stranger to the values of perseverance and community. Hooker's early days in MMA were tough, but they laid the groundwork for a career that would see him rise to the top. Training out of City Kickboxing, one of the most respected gyms in the world, Hooker honed his skills in kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling. His dedication paid off as he won titles like the King in the Ring Middleweight Kickboxing Champion and WKBF Rules Welterweight Champion. But Hooker wasn't content with just dominating the kickboxing scene. He had his sights set on a bigger stage, the Ultimate Fighting Championship, UFC, the world's most competitive MMA promotion. With a record of 24 wins and 12 losses as of August 20th, 2024, including 11 knockouts and 7 submissions, Hooker's transition to MMA was nothing short of spectacular, which is why we show you his most popular fights so far. Dan Hooker versus Haochin Wu, Legend FC Legend Fighting Championship 8. On March 30th, 2012, Hooker faced Haochin Wu at Legend FC 8. Despite Hooker's aggressive approach and technical skill, he was defeated by submission, rear naked choke, in the second round. This fight was a learning experience for Hooker, highlighting areas for improvement in his grappling defense. The bout underscored the need for Hooker to refine his techniques and adapt his strategy for future challenges. Dan Hooker versus Nick Patterson, AFC 6, Australian Fighting Championship 6. On August 24, 2013, Hooker fought Nick Patterson at AFC 6. The fight was a display of Hooker's striking power and endurance. He secured a TKO victory in the third round, demonstrating his ability to maintain a high level of performance throughout the fight. This win was celebrated for its display of Hooker's resilience and striking prowess, further establishing his reputation as a formidable competitor. Dan Hooker versus Maximo Blanco, UFC Fight Night Hunt versus Nelson. On September 20th, 2014, Dan Hooker made his UFC debut against Maximo Blanco at UFC Fight Night Hunt versus Nelson. The fight was a significant step up in competition for Hooker. Despite his efforts, Hooker lost by unanimous decision. Blanco's experience and aggressive style proved challenging, but the fight provided Hooker with valuable experience in the UFC's octagon and highlighted areas for growth. Dan Hooker versus Yair Rodriguez, UFC 192, Cormier versus Gustafsson. In October 2015, Hooker faced Yair Rodriguez at UFC 192. The fight was a closely contested battle, with Hooker eventually losing by unanimous decision. Rodriguez's dynamic striking and movement presented challenges for Hooker, but the fight showcased his tenacity and skill in facing top-tier competition. It was a valuable learning experience that contributed to Hooker's growth as a fighter. Dan Hooker versus Jason Knight, UFC Fight Night Whitaker versus Brunson. Later in 2016, on November 27th, Hooker faced Jason Knight. Despite a competitive fight, Hooker lost by unanimous decision. Knight's relentless pace and aggressive style presented challenges for Hooker, but the fight highlighted Hooker's resilience and determination. It was a closely contested bout that contributed to Hooker's continued development as a fighter. Dan Hooker versus Gilbert Burns, UFC 226, Miocic versus Cormier. On July 8, 2018, Hooker faced Gilbert Burns at UFC 226. The fight showcased Hooker's striking prowess as he won by knockout in the first round. Burns, known for his grappling skills, was caught off guard by Hooker's powerful strikes. The victory was a major achievement, solidifying Hooker's reputation as a top contender in the lightweight division. Dan Hooker versus James Vick, UFC Fight Night, Dos Anjos vs. Edwards. On July 20th, 2019, Hooker faced James Vick. The fight was a showcase of Hooker's striking power as he secured a knockout victory in the first round. Vick, known for his striking skills, was unable to withstand Hooker's aggression. Dan Hooker versus Dustin Poirier, UFC Fight Night, Poirier versus Hooker. On June 27, 2020, Hooker fought Dustin Poirier. The fight was a classic war of attrition, with both fighters displaying incredible heart and skill.
Poirier doubles up on that body kick. Edson Barboza, the only man to beat Dan Hooker on this historic lightweight.
Poirier emerged victorious by unanimous decision after a grueling 5-round battle.
Dustin the Diamond Poirier!
Despite the loss, Hooker's performance was praised for its heart and resilience. Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler, UFC 257, Poirier versus McGregor 2. On January 24, 2021, Hooker faced Michael Chandler at UFC 257. Chandler, making his UFC debut, brought a high level of intensity and aggression. The fight ended quickly, with Chandler securing a knockout victory in the first round. Despite the loss, Hooker's willingness to face top competition was commendable.
Look at the immediate...
Oh! Big knockdown for Michael Chandler! Big right hand, Dan's hurt. Hooker covering up!
Dan Hooker versus Claudio Puelles. On November 13, 2022, Hooker fought Claudio Puelles at UFC 281. Hooker's striking power was on full display as he secured a knockout victory in the second round. Puelles, known for his grappling skills, was unable to withstand Hooker's aggressive approach. The victory was a significant comeback for Hooker, showcasing his striking ability and resilience after previous losses.
It looks more like that.
Oh, there it is again. That might do it. That'll do it. Dan Hooker with a kick to the body.
Dan Hooker versus Arnold Allen, UFC Fight Night, Volkov versus Aspinall. On March 19, 2022, Hooker faced Arnold Allen. Despite a competitive first round, Hooker was knocked out in the second round. Allen's striking power and precision proved challenging for Hooker, but the fight demonstrated Hooker's willingness to engage with top competition. The loss was a setback, but Hooker's performance was a testament to his dedication and willingness to face the best in the division. Dan Hooker versus Jalin Turner, UFC 290, Volkanovski versus Rodriguez. On July 8, 2023, Hooker fought Jalin Turner at UFC 290. The fight was a closely contested battle, with Hooker securing a split decision victory. Turner, known for his striking and size, presented challenges, but Hooker's skill and adaptability earned him the win. The victory cemented his place as a top contender in the lightweight division. Dan Hooker versus Mateusz Gamrot, UFC 305, Du Plessis versus Adesanya. And on August 17, 2024, Hooker faced Mateusz Gamrot at UFC 305. The fight was a display of Hooker's skill and determination, as he secured a split decision victory. Gamrot, known for his grappling and striking abilities, presented a tough challenge. Hooker's ability to adapt and secure the win demonstrated his continued competitiveness and skill in the lightweight division. So, which of the Hangman's fight interests you the most? Share your thoughts with us. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories from your favorite MMA fighters.